Hello. Um, Welcome to the Community Hospitals Association Special Interest Group in Q Community on community hospitals. And tonight we're going to talk about Meaningful Activities Coordinator. We're going to hear about a pioneering scheme from Launceston Hospital in Cornwall. So welcome everybody. Do feel free to use the chat for any conversations you want or any links or resources, and that would be lovely for everybody. I think as we're not a very large group at the moment, we can actually just go around and introduce ourselves. I don't think that would do any harm. So Anna, do you want to start as the speaker? Just say a few words.
I'm Anna. I was the Meaningful Activities Coordinator at Launceston Hospital. We started pioneering the scheme along with Bodmin in 2021. Yeah, and we run it as a pilot scheme to build a business case. For a year, and then went permanent a year later. So it's obviously been great.
Brilliant, and we can hear about how it's carried on and rolled over. Eleanor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening. Hi, I'm Eleanor. I'm the CHA administrator. Nice to meet everyone this evening.
Jurian?
Hey folks, I'm Jurian. I work for the Q community as a community convener. So I am here to help you connect and to just read the room many times over. That's me.
Excellent. Jurian's a great help to us in special interest groups in the Q community. So you're very welcome, Jurian. Helen?
Hi, I'm Helen Ballum. I'm the ward manager for Rosemary Ward at Newmarket Community Hospital in Suffolk.
So it's not very far away from where I live. And Tom?
So I'm Tom Brooks, and I'm the representative for Wales on the Community Hospitals Association. I'm a retired management consultant in healthcare management, and I now represent patients on a number of committees in the City of London and in Mid and North Wales.
Wonderful. I'm so pleased you signed in, Tom. Thank you. Dave?
I'm Dave Seamark. I'm I suppose semi-retired GP, but I've worked in community hospitals for a lot of my career, and I'm vice president of the CHA. Do you want me to say anything? Shall I wait for Anna?
Yes, I'll come back to you.
You'll come back to me. Thank you.
I'll come back to you in about 2 minutes. Thank you. Jane, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Jane Circuit. It's a new role on Rosemary Ward. Helen is my boss, gave me the job, so as activity coordinator on the Rosemary Ward.
Excellent.
It's a brand new role to the actual ward, so it's all new.
Oh, so this should be very relevant. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Jane. And I've only got iPad on as, can you introduce yourself, the person who last came in?
Is that me?
That's you. I didn't know how else to say it.
It just says iPad. So I'm Amy Freeman. I'm a therapy team leader in a community hospital up in Nottingham. So I manage a team of physios and OTs, but also we've got a small team of activity coordinators. So it'll be interesting to see what other people are doing and what this is all about.
Brilliant. Thank you. Oh, that's terrific. And we also have Simon here, who's with Anna. So that's everybody, I think. So Dave went to give Anna her award very recently because not only was Anna's work recognised in our case study from our study of community hospitals during COVID. So we had 31 case studies, and but Anna's also recognised as an Innovation and Best Practice Award, which is a national award. So Dave, do you want to say a few words? That'd be great.
Thank you. Yes, I nearly didn't recognise you, Anna, with your hair up. I think it was down the other day. Anyway, I had a very invigorating morning visiting Launceston Hospital and the team there. And Anna was obviously the focus of the main focus of attention, but the whole team was it was a great experience for me, actually. Just encouraging to hear about the work they've been doing. But Anna told me a bit about her personal sort of journey from bistro manager, furloughed, brought into the NHS as a kind of healthcare assistant, then a meaningful activities coordinator, and then has gone on to be a GP assistant, I think. Is that where you are at the moment, Anna?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So I thought, well, that's a terrific story in itself, isn't it, really? So well done you. And it's to the NHS's benefit as well that, you know, we've attracted people during this terrible time, you know, to permanent roles, you know, working for the NHS. So it was a great pleasure to present the award to Anna, and a sort of general award to the hospital, which was thoroughly deserved for their resilience and their innovation. So it was a great morning for me. Thank you.
Brilliant. Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you. Well, we're now ready to hear all about it, Anna. So if you don't mind just taking us through it, we'll be fascinated. Thank you. And then presumably we can just take questions at the end.
Okay.
Okay, over to you.
I'll do my best. Okay. Right. Okay. Meaningful Activities Coordinator. Probably the best way to start is to tell you a story about how it makes a difference in the ward base in the community hospital. So basically we had a 50-year-old end-of-life patient come in recently. The doctor asked me to go and, because I do hair cutting, nails, things like that, to be able to give them their pride back and to make them feel better. And so the doctor asked me to pop along and speak, and obviously we have a chat, talk about anything they want to, basically, you know, just a bit of social prescribing going on. He said that he had a young son, obviously very concerned about him and things like that. So later on, the son and the mum came in, and they presented me with a box of chocolates, yeah, just for cutting hair and spending time with him, and chatting and things like that. At that point, I just thought to myself, oh, the little lad must be a bit bored, you know, with the hospital sort of atmosphere and anything like that. So I popped off and got some colouring for him and gave him that. Another HCA went and got him some food, got him some fish and chips. So he had his dinner and things like that with us. And then I went off and I thought about the situation a little bit more, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go and get him something a little bit more special. So I actually went and got one of the trauma TEDs that we use for children. And I presented it to him, and his face just lit up. And I just said to him, I said, this little boy, this little bear is for you. Yeah, it's for when you're scared, it will reassure you and look after you. If you're uncertain about anything, yeah, then he will be there for you. Yeah, and he will always love you. Then I went off, come back again later, the little boy and the mum had gone home. And I said to the little boy as well, you've got to find him a really special name, okay? You know, this is your little bear now. So basically I went to come back later, and the man called me in and he said, oh, you named him? And I said, oh, great, okay, what did he call him? And he's called him Daddy Bear. He said, we've been looking and looking and looking for something to be able to give him like that, and we haven't been able to find something suitable, and you have just found that thing which is suitable, which he's going to cherish for the rest of his life. Yeah, so just having that element of meaningful in it, yeah, is just makes such a difference to everybody in a hospital. Yeah, and having that time to be able to put that in when everybody else is rushing around busy doing their jobs and things like that, to be able to add that in, yeah, is just really special, and that really makes the job. So basically, I'm, like David was saying about me, I'll tell you a quick, you know, thing about me. Obviously before the first lockdown, I'd never worked in care, never worked for the NHS. So beforehand, I had my own bistro. I had that for about 9 months before COVID hit. So obviously I had to close it. Before that, I worked in social media and advertising, so completely different, you know, but when COVID hit, obviously I had to go and find something else a bit more certain. So I started as a general worker at Launceston Hospital. Then I went on to Flexi HCA, then I went on to permanent HCA. And then in May 2021, I was asked to lead the meaningful activities. Bodmin had started it, and we were asked to work alongside them as well, to sort of get it up and going, see what we could do and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, and then in April 2022, it went permanent at Launceston Hospital. So we were the first ones to go permanent. And it's been going from strength to strength since then. I do work alongside Richard, who is Mac as well. We call him Max, okay? And we're very different. We work very differently, but we both play to each other's strengths, yeah? So I'm good at like craft social prescribing, holistic care, real patient-focused care and things like that, but Rich is really good at like the physio and therapies, and so it just works really well together to be able to do those things. Yeah, so what we do, what is a MAC? Okay, we are the first and the closest point of contact to our level 3 patients. So we focus on level 3s, which are your dementia, your delirium, and your Alzheimer's, because obviously they're potentially the highest risk of falls, yeah, and escalations and things like that. So we focus on them, yeah, to take the pressure off of the HCAs, so the HCAs can get on with their work without having to worrying about somebody falling or escalating. Yeah, we get to know their likes, their dislikes, what may cause escalations, trigger points. We work closely with families, and we get to understand the background of the person, which is relevant to the behavior whilst they stay with us. So basically, if you've got a chap who's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and rushing around wanting to do stuff on the ward, and you speak to the family, you say, oh, is there any idea why he's doing this? And they turn around and they say, yes, he used to be a milkman. Yeah, so that gives you the answer to that, to why he's doing that. So you can then problem solve that. Yeah, and instead of maybe irritating other patients or staff, you can find a resolve to that, and you understand the problem. Excuse me. We do use activities as a tool to keep the patients busy during the day. So you reduce the escalations at night, so they get a good night's sleep. We are a go-to person for other staff and often problem solving different things. If you've got a patient who isn't recovering quite as well as they could be, and you go and speak to them, spend some time with them, then you find out they've got a bill at home, which they are worrying about. So that's actually like stopping them recover mentally. And obviously, we work with their well-being and, making them feel better about themselves, so then that helps them recover better and get them home quicker. The doctors will social prescribe us to go and spend time with patients, yeah. So we can spend days at a time with a patient, yeah, just getting to know them, finding out about them, find out what they want. I had one lady recently, she'd stopped eating, stopped drinking, just refusing to do anything, yeah, refusing to take medicines and all that. I went and spent about 2 hours with her. I'm just talking to her generally, just having a chat and things like that. And I said to her, do you know what's really good is a cup of tea in a bone china cup and saucer? And she said, oh God, yes. And can I have a digestive biscuit on the side to dunk? And I'm like, oh God, yes, of course. So off I went, got it. Bearing in mind this lady who refused to eat, yeah, and drink, it'd gone within 5 minutes. Yeah, literally just gone. So then that improves your hydration and your nutrition, yeah, of your patients. And then she said to me, I said to her, why aren't you eating your lunches and your dinners? And she's like, well, they bring them on the dirty trays. I don't want to eat my dinner off of a dirty tray. Obviously, the tray's not dirty, but in her mind, she just wants the plate. She doesn't want the tray. So then we took the plate off the trays and things like that. So she started eating. So then that aids her recovery, if you see what I mean. We spend valuable time with patients because our time to them is valuable, and just to be able to have that time to spend with them just is huge difference to them. Chat to them and just chat about old times, whatever. It's it's just a really good thing to do. We have had to change ingrained cultures. Just because it's done that way doesn't mean it's always right. I have challenged protected meal times. Sit by your beds, just who sits by their beds and eats their lunch, dinners, breakfast, whatever. Get them into the day rooms, set the tables out nicely, get them all sat round, put some music on, yeah, set the table out properly and things like that, yeah, and they interact, you know, it becomes a social event, which is what eating is about, dining is about. You know, how often do you go out and you sit in a dining room or a restaurant on your own and just sit there and just eat and just leave? It's not often, is it? It's a social event, you know. So then, yes, again, that proves, you know, nutrition and hydration, yes, again. So, you know, that's another thing that we sort of took on board. MAC is a very reflective practice. You know, you can go in with a plan of what you want to do, yeah, but quite often, as soon as you step in the door, everything goes out the window because you know, people are like, oh, can you spend time with this? Can you do this? Can you do this? You know, it's that sort of thing, you know. So, you know, to have a plan is really, really hard if you're a MAC. Yeah. We introduced, you know, some of the things that we have done, you know, activity based, is we introduced a gardening for all scheme in our gardens. So we got some high-rise planters which are wheelchair accessible, so we can get the wheelchairs in underneath them. So gardening then therefore becomes accessible to absolutely every patient. And we usually found outside in the summer for hours and hours and hours, just music on, you know, they eat their lunches out there, you know, and good old fresh air, do you know what I mean? You can't beat it. So, and just having, you know, just that little bit of, you know, planting and stuff like that, you know, that all helps with therapy, physiotherapies, and, you know, to get them to be able to do things. We try as often as we can do events for certain days, like St. Piran's Day. We went to local butcher and he supplied all the patients with pasties for free. We've got Lord St. Band who come up and every Remembrance Day and they do the last post for us. Mother's Day, we try and do chocolates for the mums or the ladies especially. Royal British Legion come up as well on Remembrance Day. We made this huge poppy. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It had 100 pom-poms in it, and the patients actually made it. So that comes out every year for that. At Christmas, the men got passionate about making huge fireplaces so Santa could come down them. And I'd often come back in the next day and the men had been at it all night on them because they were just so involved in it and wanting it done. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, and getting it done sort of thing. We do harvest festivals. We do a lot of pamper days, yeah, and have a pamper day. Like I said, I cut hair and do nails, paint the ladies' nails, give them hand massages, foot massages, because it's all about making them feel good, yeah, about themselves, and it just makes such a difference, yeah. One of my best things I think I've ever done is making mocktails with the patients. So they pretend they're on the beach then, they love it, you know, so make a mocktail, and they sit there and they pretend that, you know, on the beach, sunning it up and things like that. So, and of course, you're then again getting more nutrition and hydration, you know, improves yet again. What else we do? We work with other community groups is always a great source of getting donations for equipment and things like that. So we work with the local food bank, yeah, so they do a few things for us. We've got something which is called a hospital wardrobe. So we've also always got clothes to give to the patients because so many of our patients turn up and they haven't got anything with them whatsoever. So we've got like a wardrobe of various clothes from the food bank which have been donated. They're all new, yeah, or hardly used, nothing wrong with them whatsoever. So we can just dip into that and just, you know, bit of, you know, self-pride just again, you know, dignity and things like that, you know. They also do home parcels for us. So if we've got somebody who's going home who's on their own and they've got no food at home, they'll make us up a parcel to be able to get that person home. Also, they will do furniture and things like that. So if somebody's been delayed on a discharge because they haven't got a bed or they haven't got a sofa or something like that, then they will supply that for us, yeah, and to get that person home yet again. Launceston Lions obviously supplies with trauma TEDs and things like that. Tesco Community Champion, she's absolutely fantastic. She donates stuff all the time. I just go in and say, oh, can I have some garden paint? Oh yeah, take it, you know. Oh, can I have this? Can I have that? Can the other, you know, and she's absolutely fantastic. She also comes up to the hospital and does some activities with the patients as well, which is great. DS Smith, which is a local company, they donated a load of planters for us for the gardens. So that was another great thing. Obviously, I do source funding and things from different places. I got some funding from the community chests of Cornwall councillors. So all Cornwall councillors have got community chests they could donate to each year. And so 2 of those donated to the MAC fund. And so we were able to buy loads of therapy equipment and loads of musical instruments and things like that, because music is absolutely fantastic, yeah, for our patients, as you well know. So we've got a huge array of musical instruments that we can use. What else can I talk about? We've seen a massive reduction in falls. I believe up until I left, we've had 0 falls in MAC care. Yeah, so there has been falls. Yeah, but in MAC care, whilst that patient's in MAC care, we have had 0 falls as MACs, which I think is quite amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. What else to talk about? Having MACs on, it helps the overall atmosphere of the hospital, because it takes the pressures off of, you know, whereas before we had enhanced care HCAs, and they used, I don't know if anyone can remember, they used to come and just sit by the door and, you know, not do a lot really for 12 hours. They wouldn't interact with the patients and things like that. Obviously, we haven't had enhanced care HCAs since we started MAC. In the daytime, there has been a few cases when nighttime, obviously, but I can't work 24 hours really. Yeah. You know, it improves, you know, it just relieves the pressures, you know, and if the physios have given them physio to do and the physios haven't got the time to be able to do, you know, therapies with them, you know, the physios come to us and say, can we do this with them? Can we do that with them? And then we can do that, and we can support the therapists as well. Yeah, so lots and lots of stuff going on. We got a therapy dog. Well, we did have my dog. I put her through as a pet therapy dog, a little cocker spaniel called Pepper. Yeah. So she was going in the hospitals, and the patients absolutely adored her. Yeah. I used to get in trouble if I went into work and she wasn't with me. Yeah. So and they love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. We have reintroduced volunteers into Launceston Hospital again. I've been, yeah, that sort of thing. We've now actually rolled out MAC to, I think it's about 5-6 other hospitals in Cornwall, because it's been so successful. So yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so I've been sort of helping with that and holding it all together. So we have been having MAC meetings every month to support, because it can be an isolated role in the hospital. And yeah, just sort of support each other and talk about ideas, what's everyone doing, what MAC WhatsApp group and thing, you know, so it just really brings it all together, sort of thing. So yeah, basically it's an amazing role to have in a hospital. Community acute, you know, we've worked with Bristol Infirmary, we've worked with Birmingham, you know, sort of all over the country. So it's just a really, really great role. Yeah. And yeah, well, that's all I can say, really. Go get a MAC.
I suspect you've stunned us all into silence. There was so much in what you had to say, but what tremendous community support, and what diverse support you're giving to patients in the community hospital. I think we should throw it open to questions. I know I've got my own questions, but I'll hold back. Who would like to ask a question? Okay, I won't hold back at all. I'm interested to know how you work in the ward team, really.
Right.
Just thinking of, you know, you've got the nurses, you've got physios, you've got presumably OTs.
Yeah.
How does the MAC work with what everybody else is doing? I'd be interested in that.
We kind of just sort of slot in where needed, and that's why I'm saying it's very reflective. So if the physio needs us, you know, then we do that. Yeah. If you know, we do try and stay out the care element where we can. Yeah, because obviously we're there to help the HCAs be able to do their job and support them. Yeah, but obviously the HCAs then get involved in the MAC sometimes, and you know, so it's very sort of supportive anyway. Yeah. And obviously the nurses, we support them by, you know, helping them, you know, because obviously I think the worst thing on a ward, if you've got a patient who's getting up every 5 seconds and stuff like that, then affects like the nurses and the HCAs and the doctors. Yeah, and things like that. So you know, it's just Mac's hugely supported to every role in the hospital. Yeah. And it just sort of all works together, it gels together really well. So yeah, no, I think that's how it all works together. So
good. And presumably that the nurses and physios and OTs, the members of the multidisciplinary team welcome your input, because you can really put time into supporting patients and giving them time and attention. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we pick up, you know, well, not sometimes, quite often we pick up on, you know, a lot of things that somebody may have missed, you know, and then it's, that's the answer, you know, that's why this is happening. Yeah. So, you know, because we work so closely with the patients and the families, and yeah.
Yes, that's lovely. Right, we do have a question. Yes, please.
Is that me?
It's sorry. Do remind me of your name again?
It's Amy.
Amy. Hello, Amy.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
What do I want to say? So we have activity coordinators on our wards, and ours started just before COVID hit. So I had a plan of what I wanted them to do, which was exactly what you've been talking about. But because of COVID, it's sort of, they morphed into something else.
Right.
So they sort of just fill in the gaps, I suppose, for everybody, and they sort of get pulled into HCA work, and the groups that they run are very sort of they do groups with all of the patients, not just focusing on those with dementia and delirium and stuff. So it's very generic and it's not meaningful, which is what I want it to be. It's sort of just, it's kind of a bit like just activity, which is great, but I want it to be more focused and sort of meaningful, like your interventions have been. So I suppose my question is, I want to relaunch that team into something else, and I think this might be a good way of launching it, as calling them Macs and stuff. So when your role was set up, was there a business case? Have you got a job description, or have you got anything that you could share that would help me to sort of relaunch their role?
There is a job description, but I think that needs to be updated because I don't think it's accurate really. So I can send you some stuff over if you like, if you want me to. Yeah, if you want me to, if you let me have your email address and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be really great.
Yeah, have you read the Community Hospital Association, the blog I did?
No.
There's a blog on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's got quite a bit of information in as well. Yeah, so that might be worth looking at.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but we could have a chat maybe about how I think that you'd be able to achieve that if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been helpful. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well.
And we will make sure that we send out the link to your blog, Anna, because that is, I think it's just come up on the chat from Eleanor.
Eleanor's on it.
Okay, well, as quick as I say it, it's done. We're going to send you the link because it really is worth reading about how it came about and Anna's personal journey. So that's splendid. But it does show that the word meaningful is a really important word, isn't it, in this title, as you've just described?
Absolutely, and I'd love to be able to get rid of the word activity, because I think it gives the wrong impression. Yeah. So I wanted to go like for meaningful therapies or something like that. Yeah, I never quite got that far, but yeah. Not for the want of trying. Yeah, so but yeah, so it's really about sort of really getting down to the nitty and gritty of how you can make a difference to that person and the person-centered care. Yeah, so I think you really have to focus on that. So
Yes. Thank you. Tom, you have a question.
Yeah, indeed, Anna, that was very, very inspiring. It really was.
thank you.
And I wanted to find out how the work that you're doing is being spread and adopted by the other hospitals. You mentioned 5 or 6 there. So
Yeah.
perhaps you could say what particular things you've done have they adopted in their areas, and were there any things that they were doing which you've adopted so you've mutually learned from each other?
Right, okay. So what we have been doing is we've been sort of going down to the hospitals to see how it works as well. Because obviously every hospital's different, yeah, and how it's laid out and things. So we've been working together alongside that. Yeah, just so what we do is we try and do like this induction. So they come up with me for a bit to see how I work, so they get some ideas from me, and then I go down, or me and Rich go down or whatever, to see how it works down there. So I try and share all the information I've got, like with This Is Me, filling the This Is Me in, which is really important. But not just, and I sort of bounce ideas to them, and they sort of come back and bounce a few to me. Like some of them are holding like a cinema evening and things like that, and doing like proper cinema tickets and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that, sort of thing. So we do work alongside together. But This Is Me, we fill it in. If they haven't got one, then they fill it in when we first get there and work with the families. But it is also vitally important as well that you fill it in before they leave your care, because you have then absorbed so much, information about that person to be able to pass on to the next people. Yeah. And I was doing patient transfers as well. Yeah. So because I've got all that information to be able to hand over, I was actually driving out with the patient to the next place. Yeah. To be able to hand over all that information, settle them down and things. Yeah. So yeah, I was doing all that sort of thing. But I think because they're quite early in their early days as Max, I think they're just really trying to find their feet at the moment, because it literally has been just a month or two. So yeah, but we support, I sort of, we sort of share the Daily Sparkle and things. I don't know if you've heard of that. We share that between us as resources. I've obviously given as much information as I possibly can, and just supportive and just, working alongside together, really.
Well, it sounds wonderful. Sorry, and I suppose it evolves, which is fantastic. Sorry, Tom, I interrupted.
No, the spreading of the good practice is absolutely crucial if these initiatives are to be adopted much more widely. And did I understand you correctly in saying that it's absorbing just one day of your time for all that hard work at the moment? One day a month?
That's the MAC meeting. Yeah, one day, usually about 2-3 hours. But we've also got MAC WhatsApp group. Yeah. And obviously, the visits and things like that, and emails, Teams and everything like that. So yeah.
You're full time, are you, Anna?
I was 37. I just dropped to 30. Yeah. But yeah, but obviously I was doing the social media and the Facebook and all that as well. So I think the Facebook and the Twitter. So I think I'll be able to reach out a lot better, be able to get the message out there about what was happening. So that was obviously causing a real buzz as well. Be able to sort of, I think, maybe because it hadn't been shouted about quite as much before, and then I came along and started shouting. Yeah.
Your background in social media really came to the fore then.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check, does everybody know about This Is Me? This is from the Alzheimer's Society.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, just so that we all know what's being used, but it's a very useful resource, isn't it? And then you can develop it from there. Helen, would you like to ask your question.
And it was just really to share a little bit. Obviously Jane is new and I can see her brain whirring, and I can imagine I shall have a shopping list on my desk tomorrow morning. So obviously, Amy, Jane is our new activities coordinator with Newmarket Community Hospital. It's a new role. We did a business case to get this role. It was when we were having trouble to recruit nursing assistants, and we looked at what other roles could we have to take some of the pressure off the nursing assistant. So along with Jane's role, we also introduced ward host at the same time. And they're the people, they work across nursing and catering, helping with the meals and the drinks rounds and things. But Jane was one of our nursing assistants and has also worked with therapy in the past. Sorry, Jane, I'm talking about you. We took Jane out of her nursing assistant uniform and put her into a different uniform. So she actually wears a polo shirt, which is supported by the hospital charity. She has a base in with the therapy and discharge plan, so she's got her own little base. Storage is a bit of a problem, but it is making a huge difference to our patients. You worked with a lady, didn't you, Jane, right early on, who wouldn't talk or wouldn't engage with therapy or anything, and Jane sat with her and talked to her and got her going, and then she agreed to engage with therapy.
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times as well. You know, you see the importance of time and patience and talking and engaging and letting them talk. It's all very alien for them, so there's fear involved as well. So, you know, to give the HCA's time to do their job, and because, you know, a lot of the lady we were talking about wouldn't take any medication, no personal care, anything. And I went in every single morning and I helped her get dressed, and gradually she built trust with the whole ward. So other people could start coming in and helping with her personal care and things like that. And yeah, that was really special to me. That was when it was like, tick, it's working. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Jane also documents her interventions, interactions in the patient notes.
Yeah, because I can see the ups and downs, especially with delirium or depression, any new habits that they're engaging, if they're feeling worse or getting better, you know, or just information that they may sort of indulge in us, and also what their likes and dislikes. Maybe the care team haven't got time to go through that, so they can see it on the notes. Okay, they like a little walk in the afternoon, you know, things like that, just to help our patients with motivating. That's my key, motivating, to help them give up, because when they come to us, they've been in hospital for quite some time prior to that. So they come to us and we expect them to jump up and start walking around. We need to motivate and keep them positive. So yeah, it's been really good.
Lady you sat with at lunchtime today, though, who'd refused lunch, hadn't she? She didn't want anything to eat. She refused everything. But Jane is different. I don't know whether you found that, Anna. It's a different role.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
don't sort of see it as staff or a nurse. It's somebody totally different sitting there. And it was almost like Jane could take sort of their side almost and support that lady today.
Yeah, you do that quite often. Yeah, you do that quite. And I think because you're not, as a MAC, you're not going at them and going, you've got to eat this. You're going in behind sort of thing and going, oh, you know. And I sit and eat with my patients, Jane. I don't know if you do that, because that is
why not?
It's a huge thing, because the first thing they say to you is, where's yours? Why are you not eating it? What's wrong with it? And so then that encourages them to eat. But you're probably the same as me, is you just go in a different angle, you don't put any pressure on. As soon as you
No,
put pressure
never.
on, that's it, they close down. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't want to know. Yeah. So yeah, it is a different role, and it's seen as a different role. So
It's brilliant. You just see it in front of you, the change.
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just it's overwhelming. Yeah, it's brilliant.
No, it's brilliant. Yeah. And you sort of walk away with a real pride about, I've done my job. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
It takes guts though sometimes, doesn't it, Jane, to not get involved in washing, nursing care and things, and to be able to keep your role separate.
Absolutely. I have to keep reminding myself, right, step away now, step away. So yeah, it's hard, but I'm learning to do that. Yeah.
But it's certainly shown how important it is to have that distinct role then, if you're building trust. Amy, sorry.
And I think just because I'm in a totally different colour, different from everyone else. I mean, Helen's done a great job creating my role. To be totally different, they see me as not this, the nurse telling me to take my drugs, or the carers, well, I've got to do this, or even physio to get working. It's someone else. It's someone totally different.
It's quite interesting actually, because when we first started piloting Mac, the first day when I was asked to go in, I had a completely different uniform, and it's got to be that. Yeah, it's got to be straight away, bang. You're not an HCA, you're not a nurse, you're not anything like that. You're something completely different. To be able to get that defined, before the role, and that's a really important thing to do. Yeah.
We're quite the envy of some of the other wards and some of the other community beds that we've got. We've got Jane in post, and
oh, how lovely.
Oh, well done, Helen, for sorting it out and creating it.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fortunate this role to happen on, Rosemary Ward.
It's work in progress, isn't it? Work in progress.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I shall write my list in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Be prepared, Helen.
I'll email you some more ideas, Jane. All right.
Look what you've started, Anna. We'll go to Amy now. Amy, you've got your hand up. Would you?
Yeah, I was just going to say about uniform. So when we first had the activity coordinators at ours, we had them in red polo shirts, because red just was completely different to the other staff, and they were known as the ladies in red. And it was really, really good. And then we had a new uniform policy come in, and they had to go into tunics. So they just sort of blend into stuff now. And we really, really fought our hardest to keep those polo shirts, because we knew how important it was. But that sort of autonomy got taken away from us. So I will make sure that I put that in my business case again. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That's really helpful. David, you have a question?
Yes, well, more of a comment really. I mean, I found this very interesting, the whole discussion. So much of nursing and medical care is transactional, isn't it? It's just, you get this done, you get that, and you move on to the next. And you're describing as something very different, aren't you? That's, it makes me feel calm, actually, the way you're talking about it, that you're kind of the one thing that patient who's feeling confused generally is being able to, hold on to and anchor on, really. And I mean, encouragingly, we're hearing about other examples of the activity coordinator, from Amy and obviously from Jane and who else? Helen, yeah. I suppose I'm interested to know how widespread it's becoming, amongst the community hospital population. I don't know whether there's any other communication going on apart from this sort of thing, but I think it's been really useful, at least to find 3 hospitals that are working along this model at the moment. But it would be quite helpful, I think, whether it's something the CHA could take up and try and do a bit of a survey to find out how this is. And I suppose my other thought is how much meaningful activity coordinating goes on in the acute sector, in the larger hospitals, because they're certainly more baffling and, you know, prone to confusing patients through their activity, you know. And you know, this, you know, on one hand this could be seen as, you know, sort of the icing on the cake, but I'd see it as being more important than that, really. If it's stopping patients wandering at night or crashing to the floor in any time of day and actually making them better, because it is, by the sound of it, then it's pretty important, really. That's my thought.
Excellent. Did you want to say anything to that, Anna?
Yeah, well, I know it's gone. I know I can tell you where they are so far. So it's Bodmin got some, us obviously, Helston, Camborne Redroof, and St Austell so far. Yeah. Oh, Liscard as well. But just recruiting again for Liscard. So, you know, it's gone quite a few down here. And like I said, I've had talks with Bristol Infirmary. I've had talks with Birmingham hospitals, and, you know, about the role and how to introduce it into the acute ward settings. I haven't heard how that's gone, whether they've managed to do it or not. But, you know, there's a lot of talking that goes on, you know, to be able to sort of spread it even further, sort of make it bigger and better. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds as if there is a potential for the CHA to survey this and look systematically across the UK. But it looks as if that could be a first step towards setting up a bit of a network so that there's a lot of shared resources and thoughts on this, because, as you say, it's fundamental to the care of people in the community hospital. And we know the cohort of patients in community hospitals, you know, so many of them are frail older people with complex care needs, and
absolutely, yeah.
To do safe discharge, you need to really understand that person and what they need. So what you're describing, I mean, particularly what you described as you started your talk, Anna, it's so moving. But to make that connection with someone that where they trust you, and then they will start cooperating, eating, and joining in. So
I think there's got, you know, there is a you have to distinguish between what was activity coordinators, like Amy was saying, and what are MACs, more meaningful. And it's just so important to focus on the meaningful part of it, you know, because that is what makes the difference, you know, to that person. Yeah. So it's just so important. So just don't ever drop the meaningful. Yeah. Yeah. So it's, so
meaningful to the patient in terms of absolute person-centered care.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We've had Iris join us. I don't know whether you want to introduce yourself, Iris. Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
sorry, yes, just hold on. Oh, could you hear me? Hello, my name is Iris and I work at East Sussex Healthcare Trust at Bexhill and Rye Hospital. So it's a rehab unit. So with Bexhill, it specializes in stroke. And so I've been an activity coordinator for 2.5 years now. So when I started, it's actually a new role within the hospital, and it took them I think several years actually to make the business case for an activity coordinator to work in the hospital. And we had 2 activity coordinators. So because when we first started, it was during COVID, so it was quite a difficult job. And that's when, like you said, the meaningful part of it was very important, because part of the objective was doing group activities. And during COVID, we weren't able to do a lot of the group activities. So yeah, so it was very sort of focused on the patient. So I deal on a day-to-day basis with a lot of dementia patients as well as stroke. So mostly the elderly sector, people who are more frail. And yeah, it's really, I think that personal touch is quite important for the patient, because a lot of them, when they come in a hospital, in the beginning, it's quite hard to engage with them because they're quite used to being on their own, or they're just not used to having someone talking to them. And it takes a while to sort of build that rapport. And once you build that rapport with them, and then they're like, oh, it's so nice, and they open up. And I think it's quite special to have the patient just to, once they open up to you, and then they're willing to do most things that you try to get them to do. So yeah, so it's just been quite a challenging role for us, and we're always trying to explore new resources, options, and trying different things. So I've been quite busy. Sorry, I was late today because I was quite busy preparing for the coronation on Friday. So just making, just preparing for like a coffee tea party. I've made a cutout of a life-size cutout of the king and a royal car. So it's a bit crazy in some ways, but actually for us, working as an activity coordinator, we have sort of the benefit of actually making it fun for the patients. And I think that's quite important, because one of the things they do tell me when I sort of spend time with them, it makes them forget like that they're in a hospital. And it makes them forget for a moment that when you reminisce with them, their past life, and, they just kind of remember who they were. So it's actually quite important for them in the rehabilitation. So yeah, so it's always a changing role, and yeah, so we're just trying to work with a lot of the external organization at the moment as well. So trying to link up like Stroke Association, Dementia, Alzheimer's UK. So my next little project is I've signed up to the Alzheimer's UK Singing for the Brain group. So they've got free training. I don't know if any one of you are into music therapy. So I've signed up for that, and hopefully I'll be able to deliver voluntary music therapy as well. So being an activity coordinator is just sort of, it's like jack of all trades, and just I do gardening, music, arts and crafts, so anything that they're into, we try. And a lot of it is just, talking about what it's important to them. One of the things that I'm in East Sussex, so we have a really good library resources. So I don't know in other area whether you have the same. So in East Sussex, the library, they have what they call a reminiscence collection. So that is my go-to resources. We've got like scent boxes, memory joggers, bingo, music bingo, all sorts of things. So I continuously like borrow things from them, and it's been sort of like my godsend resources. So yeah, so that's a little bit of my job. And yeah, it's just if you've got any resources, I think the reason I came in onto this forum, which is wanting to see if there's any link up networking and any resources that we can share, which would be very useful.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. Thank you. I mean, I do feel a network coming along with something.
I think it's very, very important, because sometimes we do feel a bit lonely, because I don't know any other activity coordinator within sort of the NHS. And a lot of them that I know, they might be working in sort of the mental health ward side of things. So I'm more in the geriatric ward, so to speak, as rehab. And I'm Chinese myself, so it's a very interesting look into sort of the culture, and people are very like, all my patients are very open in sharing their experience, and there's a lot of linkage as well. So I think for me, it's just, yeah, it's quite difficult and challenging at times, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. You know, I mean, as you say, for the patient to have enjoyment and that it's meaningful activity. Well, I think East Sussex are very lucky to have you. It sounds like lovely
Thank
service.
Yeah, it's a lovely hospital to work with as well. And
Good.
we've got lovely garden, and yeah, and also volunteers is a very important resources for us.
Good, good. That's excellent. Thank you. Oh, well, it's lovely to hear about it. We'll move on to another question then. Amy.
Right, so just a few things before my question. So one is our local library do, they're called reminiscent suitcases, and you literally have a little suitcase, and inside it's got things like, so you can get one about World War II, and they've got like ration books and all things like that. So that is amazing. So see if your local libraries do that. In terms of what Iris was saying about feeling quite lonely, I think our activity coordinators have the same thing. So there's loads of activity coordinators around in care homes, and we're a mental health trust. So there was quite a few activity coordinators on the mental health wards, but what they do is different to what we wanted them to do. And it was quite difficult to find other people that had like the similar things that they wanted to do. So having a network in this community group would be amazing, because you know you're all going to be working towards the same sort of goals and ethos, aren't you? So my question is to the activity coordinators on the call. What would you say is your ratio between doing one-to-one stuff to group stuff, and is your group work just sort of ad hoc, like on patients based, or is it more structured? Because the reason I'm asking is because one of our activity coordinator came from mental health role, and she does CST. I'm sorry. So her groups are sort of a little bit structured based on the CST work. So I just wondered what you guys do. Sorry, I'm rambling. I've got kids in the background as well.
The clarification for me, CST?
So it's cognitive stimulation therapy.
Thank you, lovely.
I think, well, recently, as you may know, that we've obviously not had use of our day rooms, which have been a challenge. So being able to hold group activities has been a challenge, yeah. So we have been doing a lot more one-to-one stuff, but we have been doing group stuff as well. We've been trying to do things on ward. You know, the coronation was mentioned, so obviously I'm not there now, but I set up before I left. They're doing a street party on the Saturday for the coronation, and we've got these big TVs on wheels. So when we lost the day rooms, we've ordered in big TVs on wheels so they can do things on ward with the TVs and stuff, because obviously the TVs in the day rooms are fixed to the wall, so we can't use them. Yeah. So that's Saturday, doing a street party for everyone, finger food and stuff like that. Sunday they're having cream teas, and Monday they are having cake and like picnic food and everything like that, and obviously watch the coronation, the concert, and you know, so that's going to be a group activity. So beforehand, before we lost the day rooms, I would say that we did more group activities, yeah, than one-to-one. But as soon as we haven't got the day rooms at the moment, we're doing more one-to-one than group.
And what would you say is the most valuable? Like, what do you get most out of?
I would say the one-to-one, to be honest, for me. Yeah, I really would. Yeah, because you're spending that quality time, yeah, with a patient. You know, it's about, and that's what it's about. And that's, like I keep saying, that's the meaningful thing about it, is making a difference to that patient's life. Yeah, whether that's, you know, pushing them a little bit further, be able to get them to trust you, you know, and things like that, like Jane was saying, you know, and it's just getting that trust and, you know, just spending that quality time with somebody, which is so important when they've been in hospital for so long. You know, they lose faith in themselves, they don't trust anyone, they may have had a bad experience. So to be able to find that one person that they can, you know, trust again, you know, just makes a huge difference, especially to recovery. So yeah, I think one-to-one. But it's nice to have a party as well sometimes.
Jane, I know you're new, but what would your thoughts be on one-to-one or?
Well, we've got the same sort of problem. We haven't got a day room. You know, we're going to try, we've got a few bays that we're going to try and get a few people together to sit and just eat dinner together. But it's more beneficial. I've seen more results, as in people eating more, talking more, relaxing more when it's one-to-one. You know, they've been in hospital for a long time. They're not necessarily social. They've been living on their own. So we can't necessarily assume group sessions will work. The people that we do get together, you know, we are going to try and who will gel together. We have had occasions where we've moved patients that would get along next to the beds and done things like that. So they in the daytime they have a little natter between them. We try to do that.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the one-to-one to really help someone to really gain that trust and everything, it is a one-to-one. Though the group sessions, again, when I came into the role, I kept on saying, you know, I was talking to Helen a lot, how am I going to get these group sessions together? And it really is, we're sort of going with the flow. You know, I get keen and then Helen goes, whoa, how are we going to do that? You know, it really, and then then I realise we can't. But
fit in with the
it's a
ward.
learning curve. It's a learning curve, and really the group sessions will help with helping physio, but I'm helping physio as well as one-to-one. The other thing about one-to-one, we have people with, a lot of people with poor sight and poor hearing. So the group sessions aren't necessarily going to work. So, you know, yeah, I've got to agree. The one-to-one is more personal. You build up trust. They can hear you. They can see you. And you can get more, you know, even today, Helen was saying about the lady that I sat with to try and encourage to eat. And I said, oh, I'll be back tomorrow at lunchtime. She went, please do, please do. And she, you know, you can see that if I was talking to many people whilst sitting with her, maybe she wouldn't have, maybe she would have stayed in her little sort of cocoon. So I think we can achieve a lot more one-to-one with patients.
It's easier, isn't it? It's easier because we haven't got a day room. We're working on it, but we haven't. Whereas Jane can easily go and sit alongside a patient. You've taken them down to the cafe, haven't you? For a cafe, a walk,
garden, walk around, you know. So we're not sort of cocoons. There's little places we can go for an hour or so. It tends to be that they don't want to go for long periods of time anyway, due to exhaustion, medication. They've had physio during the day, things like that. So just little bursts. And that's how I'm seeing my job role is, you know, sort of half an hour here, half an hour there, because anything more can be too much, which means I can also see more people because I'm the only one. And if it's one-to-one with 33 patients, you know, so it's, you know, I can give priority to certain people and I've got that time for them. I think any longer than half an hour can be a little bit too much at the moment.
We just find like the groups are just logistically just a nightmare because you've got to fit in with the ward routine. There's like
Absolutely.
cleans that, you know,
Yeah.
you've got people come. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah, you know, this is the thing. I was thinking, where in the day will I have to start working evenings? But if I work evenings, they're going to be a bit too tired for, you know, sort of late afternoon. They're going to be too tired. You've got drug rounds, you've got supper. Everyone needs the toilet at some point, or just tired and doesn't want to, you know, just shuts down and doesn't want to know. So I can't see it working so well. So I think, you know, Helen sort of guided me on the fact that let's just concentrate on one-to-one. We see results, and where it will take us after that, we'll see.
Can I ask one more question? Sorry, being really cheeky. Do any of you use like outcome measures or anything to evaluate your impact, or is it more about case studies and feedback?
Yeah, we have done. We've I think we did something recently where it was the business case and we had to prove some data, so we used the Falls data and things like that as well. And obviously seeing a reduction in that. I was meant to start up a Smiley assessment tool. So obviously you've got the unhappy, then happy. So you sort of assess it before they start work. You start work with them to see how they're feeling. So obviously this one is with the more severe dementia patients, because obviously the ones without can tell you about it, can't they? And then at the end, you know, see how they're feeling afterwards, and sort of take that data and sort of keep it and sort of, you know, build a chart that way. But yeah, you know, I've done reports and things like that, and you know, just, you know, obviously we log everything in Rio. We use this other form called work, rest and recreation, which sort of reflects the life at home. So what time they get up, you know, what they do in the morning usually. So it really reflects their you know, life at home. So then you can sort of pick up any triggers in the hospital as well. Yeah. So we use all tools like that. So yeah, we have, you know, sort of done different sort of assessments and things like that. So I can't do everything. I haven't got the time to do everything.
Thank you.
That's right.
I think if you're looking to roll it out, people who are looking to learn from it will want some idea of these outcome measures.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is understandable, isn't it? But I guess a lot of it is soft data, isn't it? It's an individual patient responding, and you being able to offer them some meaningful activity and interaction.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how do you measure that, really? I mean, I suspect commissioners will want to know, you know, is the length of stay less because you've, you know, energized people or, you know, motivated people, but I don't know if they're having that much fun. They probably want to stay. I don't know.
We've had a lot of that, people wanting to stay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to go home. I want to stay here. I like it more. Yeah. We also have got kind of help with there's been a couple of cases where we've helped with a patient discharge, getting them home quicker because i.e. medicine hasn't turned up or anything, something like that. So then that delays the discharge because the patient can't go home without the medicine, obviously. So what I did a couple of times is I've actually said to them, get transport and get the patient home. When the medicine arrives here, I'll deliver it. Yeah.
Oh my
so it just stops that delay. Yeah. So, you know, it's just thinking outside the box sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, I do, you know, we problem think outside the box and just, you know, make things happen, you know, because the patient don't want to stay in the hospital any longer. We need the bed. So, you know, 10-minute drive up the road, that's what it took, and then it's sorted. Yeah. So it's just thinking about things like that.
Wow, it's sort of local solutions. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So.
Can I just come to you, Iris, just on that question of group work or one-to-one? What's your experience of that? Are you happy to say?
Well, it's always a bit of a struggle in some ways, because I think being an activity coordinator, there is an expectations for group activities, and how to sort of divide the time. And I've sort of come to a plan now, because I used to try. I mean, the term is always to try, plan a group, and it doesn't always work depending on the patients. Like, I think as Jane said, sometimes they could be hard of hearing, they can't see. And like I was saying before, I had this lovely scent box, and it's a reminiscent scent box. And actually, you realize a lot of them cannot smell anything because they've lost their sense of smell. So what I do now, I've got a little trolley. I don't know if any of you have a trolley full of goodies, and I always have like, okay, it depends on which patients are out. So I always have a box of like a picture quiz, some painting, just to keep patients occupied if they need to. So I do sort of plan, but it doesn't often work. So I work in 2 hospitals. So one of the hospital in Rye, it's got a lovely day room, and it's only recently been opened again after COVID, and the difference in patients has been massive. They've been able to come out and have lunch together, and you can see the way they socialize, and it's so lovely. You can smell the food, talk to the chef, and just have a laugh. But even then, it depends on the patients. When some of them get discharged, you come with other patients in, and some days you have 10 patients wanting to come out, and some day you only have 3 because they just don't want to do anything. So then I'll have to revert into doing more one-to-one. But I think one-to-one for me is more important. But like I said, there's always that expectation to be doing groups. So I try to do between 1 to 3 groups a week. And now the weather is a bit nicer with gardening, then it's so much better, because I can always just take people out into the garden, even if they don't do anything, just coming out, get some fresh air, have a stroll. And that's just, for me, is an activity. So it's really hard. I feel like I never have enough time in the day. And I'm very interested actually in how, like I think Amy was saying about data, like I've always had problems with data collection. How do we evidence it, what we do? And like you said, maybe soft data is more important. So I'm trying to take more pictures, photos, and just to say, okay, I've shown that I've done something, because I don't know if anyone have the same issue with me. Sometimes being an activity coordinator is sort of somewhere in between. So sometimes you're expected to do like care work and sometimes therapy, and people kind of like don't know where you're at, and you almost just kind of get pulled into doing lots of things that might not be part of your job, like toileting and just one-to-one supervision with, patients that are wandering, things like that. So
Well,
I don't know if anyone have any solutions to it.
I think, I mean, we did talk about that boundary issue at the start. I think possibly before you were able to join us, but yes.
Yeah, I'll have a look. I'll check the recording when I get around to. I will be
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a really important boundary to set, as I think we've heard. Amy, did you want to respond to some of those points?
I'm so sorry. I feel like
I know you got your hand up.
Questions. So just on that, I think that's why I was quite keen for the activity coordinators to be under the therapy management rather than the nursing management. So it was a bit clearer that they weren't part of the nursing team. It was meaningful. It was therapeutic. So I think that's how we've got around it. I have a quick question. Do any of you do anything to do with bathing patients and using showering or bathing as part of your interventions?
I have once with one patient, but that was a favour.
Right.
But no, I haven't. Yeah. There's been occasions when they've really been short-staffed, and I have, but only when I'm desperate. If there's HCAs who aren't busy and I'm busy doing my job, then I don't. Yeah, it's as simple as, yeah. And like we said at the beginning, you've got to have a real define about the roles, and I think it's a great idea to have it under the therapy banner, yeah, and not nursing, because it can get swamped, yeah, as you've seen. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah.
When I went to look at another hospital, and they had activity coordinators, and they used bathing as part of their therapy. So it's not just about cleaning the patient; it's about giving them that experience. And they had bubbles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I just thought that was amazing. But getting the nurses to agree to us to do that has been an uphill battle, and I haven't got there yet. But just wondered if anyone else had experienced.
I have heard of people doing that, yeah, and obviously it's consideration, because it is a it's a treat, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But not just sticking them in the bath or sticking them in the shower, but when you go full out, yeah, and have bubbles and a bit of music and
I'd like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've showered again 2 ladies with dementia. Again, I was building that trust that around the hospital, not just me, that you're secure, you're safe and everything like that. So once I've built that trust, they needed that shower, which they wasn't allowing any personal care for a few days. So yes, I can see it not part of my role as such, but it was a way of being able to sort of gain that trust, and they needed it. So I couldn't go, oh, you're going to have a shower now, everything's fine, and then bring someone else in to do that. So I had to do that first one, or any basic personal care. I had to do that first one until she was responding to other people. I started stepping back.
It's really patient by patient, isn't it? You just got to gauge it on the individual needs all the time. You can't just rule one, which I said earlier, so you just go with it, and you just go for what's best, really, because like we keep saying, it's patient-centered care. Yeah, so yeah. I'm going to have to make a move in a minute.
I was going to say, yes, I was just going to wind us up, just to say, Dave Seamark, the Vice President, he's gone, but he said in the chat, which you've probably seen, really inspiring talk and discussion. Thanks, everyone. And Tom, who's only just left, said, really excellent initiatives for improving patient quality of life. Well done. So that's a nice feedback. If I just go around just very quickly, just to say what to think of the discussion, but also, would you be prepared to be part of a new network? I think that's an. I'm going to start with you, Amy, because you've had your hand.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
It's been a brilliant, because like the others were saying, that it's sometimes a bit lonely for them. So it's having that network and getting different ideas and seeing what other people do. Brilliant. Perfect. Love it.
Excellent. Thank you. Anna, what about you?
Yeah, I'm happy to be part of it. Yeah, I'm happy to help out and stuff like that. I know I'm not in the role anymore. Yeah, but yeah, no, I'd love to be. It's always going to be a massive part of my life. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, and I've always been really passionate about it, and obviously, tried to work really hard to make it what it is today. So absolutely, I'd love to be part of it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So we roll it out in Cornwall and then roll it out to the rest of the UK. Wonderful.
Next week.
Jane, how have you found the discussion, and what do you think about a network?
I've found it really, really good for me, because it's such a new role, to know that I'm doing things right, and even bringing in new ideas, to have this discussion has been so valuable to what I can, do with this job. And me and Helen can talk things through a little bit more what we can do. So yeah, it's been really good. And to get involved, I'd love to get involved. I'll talk to Helen and, you know, see how that can happen. But yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's great.
excellent. We'll connect you all up. That's wonderful. Helen, anything you'd like to say?
I think it's been really good. It's really helped us because we're sort of we're pioneering it, really, aren't we? And
Yeah,
in our way, we sort of found out what we could. We wrote job description, what we thought we could do, but it's really helpful. And actually, Jay and I've got a meeting tomorrow, so that's going to really help us, isn't it, Jay?
yeah, absolutely.
And absolutely get involved. We love sharing.
Yeah.
We love pinching ideas, and we love sharing
Yeah.
our ideas.
Excellent. Iris, what about you?
Yes, it's been very, very useful. And like I said, I'm gonna go back and watch the recording to get some inspiration. It's just, it feels good to actually know that I'm not the only one with the same challenges, because I always kind of doubt myself whether, oh, am I not doing this well enough? Because there's that sort of pressure, and like it's such a new role within sort of the NHS, and I think it's really important, and it's just nice to sort of know how it's been appreciated. So hopefully we'll get more and more in every ward and hospitals.
Lovely. And I think, I mean, we were talking about data. I think some of the patient stories, I mean, the way you started, Anna, with, you know, talking about meaningful support to a patient and family. Those patient stories are so powerful, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've got so many of them. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely,
and
so
I think
many.
that's what we need more than anything else, really, to show
Yeah.
how it makes a difference, that meaningful interaction. So thank you, Anna, for your time.
That's okay. Yeah.
And we'll all be in touch and share even further. But thank you so much for everybody to joining, and congratulations. What a wonderful award.
Lovely, isn't it?
Oh, this is so nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you.